Hello, today I will be going over a tutorial of how to beat the new Thronefall map Wildbach, specifically Quest E. This is a challenging quest because it's going to make all of the ranged enemies a lot more difficult, as well as adding some additional enemies in the first 3 waves and a bunch more health throughout the entire level. Similar to my other tutorial, I recommend using the spear for this so that you can aggro enemies away from your towers. Arcane towers and the wall upgrade are both great to make your unit survive longer, and then Tower of Power is great for the early game too, especially when you're fighting those first 3 waves that have a lot more enemies. So if you've seen the other tutorial, a lot of this is going to be familiar to you, but I recommend starting with this shrine, which is nice. We'll be able to fully fill it in the first wave because of the challenge actually. So the modifier that's going to make more enemies is actually going to let us get some extra gold in the early game, which is really important. So make sure to kite them away by moving backwards to slow them, but also drawing aggro, and make sure that they die within range of the shrine. Next, I buy the farm here, and I make sure to get the anti-air because the 3rd wave of this is going to be really brutal because of those air units. Next wave on here on the spiders, again, just make sure to kite as best you can. On this, I succeeded in actually keeping all the farms alive, but if you fail at that, no worries. You'll notice actually a lot throughout this entire tutorial, I do a lot of things suboptimally. I get killed a lot. There's a couple things that I build that end up not being the best path, but even with all those issues, I'm able to win this challenge. So keep in mind, since this is not a score challenge, feel free to redo nights. If you do lose at one, it's totally fine. So long as you can make it to the last level, it's a victory for this achievement. So on this specific level, again, level 3 is really hard. Make sure to get that upgrade that's going to cause the ice spell to come down. If you do not do that, I don't know another way to survive that level. And then at this point in the game, once you finish those first 3 levels, it's really all about how can you survive the ranged attacks. So I start with the shield soldiers because they'll help tank a little bit, but I actually do something here that's not good. I build this shrine even though I'm not able to successfully hold it. So feel free to play around with it. This will work, and later on it does benefit to have that shrine partially filled, but there are probably better ways I could have spent that money this turn. Yeah, so these slimes are going to be absolutely brutal for the rest of the game, and that only gets worse once there's more of them. But we will be able to upgrade some stuff later on to help with that. One note I will add is that the farms that are upgraded to defend against range attacks, I do not believe actually defend against these slimes, so it's really not worth it to build those at any point. I would go for gold rather than attempting to do that. They might fix that in a future patch, or they might keep it that way if they want it, but in the meantime, it's not a viable strategy. So here, I really try to just keep them within range of the shrine. Again, I think I probably don't do this the best, but I do eventually get the shrine filled, and that's just some extra gold and protection for the walls here. Alright, at this point, this is a pretty gimme level. Once you fill up this shrine up top, it's completely fine with the wall there. And the spiders in general just have no ability to get through these walls, so I really looked at this as an opportunity to improve my macro situation. So upgrading these farms, getting the shipyard early is a bit of a hindrance if you want the early gold, but at this point in the game it starts to really pay off. So once you've made it to this level, your economy should be in a pretty good place. So I'm going to pull these soldiers to the top. I probably didn't need to do that, but again, this is very much a gimme level, so if you want to, you can probably put them anywhere and survive it. Alright, so this level, another really gimme level. All you have to do is just make sure, you don't even need the soldiers to survive this. I just upgrade that one once, and with those 2 towers alone, you can tank all that damage. So this is, again, a really good opportunity to get your macro in full swing, meaning all those economy buildings. So get the mine, upgrade these fully. And I could have upgraded the other mine, other farm, but I think getting this upgrade for attack is much more important, especially in the late game once things start having a lot of health, especially with those ranged units. So those later levels are pretty challenging. So getting those upgrades now is really helpful. So again, just make sure you stand in front, tank those hits, but that should be no problem. Alright, so at this point we've got quite a good economy. This is the first, I'd say, more challenging level now that we have all these ranged units coming through. And they're later on which one of the perks or mutators we put on is going to make them have additional health and attack. So you're going to probably lose quite a bit of your buildings on this one, but that is fine because we've built up our economy on the other end of our base enough that we can manage that. This is just, you know, a random playthrough I did, so I was kind of messing around with it. There's definitely better ways you could do this, but I add a couple of units here or there, make sure that the walls are built, because the one limitation of these ranged units is they'll attack whatever is closest to them. So if you can have upgraded walls, that's really beneficial. But other than that, feel free to just play around with it. This is just one way that works. Yeah, I spent a bit of time there moving my units, but you'll see it does me not that much help in the end anyway, so feel free to be as neurotic about it as I am, but in the end it's not going to matter too much, I don't think. Yeah, see, so they just chew through your defenses, but those walls that they stopped to destroy really gave me a lot more time. And as you can tell from the top here, I definitely could have pulled a lot more of those units to help in the bottom, so that would have helped as well. So at this point, another spider level, really easy to hold. So I did a couple upgrades that I just felt like I was overdue for, improving these turrets. But other than that, I think you can just make sure all of your macro economy buildings are fully leveled up. And once those are all maxed out, then just start really focusing on getting some ballistas in place. Once you get to the last round, everything's going to have a ton of health, so having things that can do a lot of burst damage is really important. I talk about this in my other tutorial for this level, so if you have questions, you can look that one up. But basically, you need to focus on the fact that there's going to be a ton of health on these units, but the limitation of having these ranged towers that can make it over the wall is they're only going to attack the units with the most health. So that ends up being really inefficient, because if you have a bunch of units at low health, they're all still doing damage to you. So it's important to have a couple towers in the mix that are focusing either the closest or lowest health units, just to make sure that the killing blows happen. So again, just adding some ballistas and then making sure these all have, all my towers have sniper upgrades, so that way they can reach past my walls. Again, just moving some units around here. Yeah, you'll likely lose some guys here as well, but I found this positioning actually worked pretty well. Kept my forge alive, kept most of my farms alive, and lost a little bit up top, but that was fine. So again, at this point, if your economy survived the first couple levels like mine did, you're going to be totally fine even if you lose a couple things in these later rounds. And you'll find that the last round of this map isn't even that challenging, to be honest. It's really more of the ranged ones that you have to survive. Again, just doing a little bit of microing here, moving my units to where I think would be most advantageous, but you probably don't need to do that. Just one thing to note, you can lock your archers a little bit behind the wall to help make sure that they aren't in range of those flail attacks. And you'll also see that because I have the power tower upgrade or perk, which is going to make my nearest tower attack 3 times faster, it scales really, really well with that defensive tower upgrade that makes towers shoot faster each time they have shot. So effectively, from the get-go, you're making it shoot really quickly, and that's going to actually scale with its own upgrade ability of every time it's shot, it shoots faster. So really helpful to have those in the front line together. And then yeah, at this point, doing a lot more ballista work because things have so much health. This tower in the back is great because it can just barely get past that upper wall. And one thing I try not to do here is focus on my upgrading inner walls when I can. There's certain levels where it's helpful to have that done, but in some senses it's kind of a losing strategy to do that. What you really want to focus on is just upgrading your tower so you do so much damage that they can't get to the walls in the first place. So there are limitations to that, but overall that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to defense is doing damage is the best way to protect your stuff, not increasing health. Also, you'll notice here I got the temple upgrade to do spell damage, so I'm going to move all my units to the bottom. This was kind of just an experiment. Because that spell is going to hurt any of my units that are nearby me. So I'm going to try and solo the top, which you'll see doesn't go great, but it does actually do a lot of damage to their forces, and at the bottom I just have all my own units defending together. So not the only way you need to do this, but you'll actually see I was able to wipe out those forces better than my own units were. And an additional benefit of buying that second tier, if you have extra money at this point, is that now when I get to the 3rd level, my economy is so good and everything is fully upgraded to the point where I can actually buy the really expensive 3rd level, which I'm just doing right now. And this is just going to cause constant waves of ice to come down on the enemy. So again, I'm going to have all of my units defend areas not nearby me because I don't want them to take any friendly fire from my shots. I will pull a couple of these shield soldiers down to the bottom just to act as tanks against these air units over by the harbor. You do have to be careful of those because they can really quickly get to your ballistas if you don't get that defended, but at this point, everything's held pretty confidently, so you should be good to go. So just holding the upper wall at this point. I could go to the bottom to help make sure that they don't push through, but I actually think it's more important to keep that upper wall's health as high as possible so I can make sure to clear out all those smaller units in one place. So there you have it. This is a guide to beat Quest E. I hope it helped. If you do have any questions, of course, feel free to let me know in the comments. And if this was helpful to you, please help me out with a like and subscribe. All right, thank you so much. Have a good one.